contact underneath. Leonard, George, got it! In the league now. Or to go along with all the defense that he brings to the table. George has to hurry, and he hits. First one taken by the Thunder in Oklahoma City in late December. Paul George buries it the point of his fourth quarter. Number 2 and number 4 teams in the West getting it on here in LA. Paul George bangs in a three from the field.
And not known as a defender. James Harden did a great job.
Paul George bangs left. Harden to man. Nice fake to kick. George contested three. My goodness.
In this third quarter. George for 3. It goes. November. George for 3. It's good. 114-106. 5 here down to 3. Paul George for 3. Up and over Prince. Cash money. Paul George.
George, the 3, good.
Good offense and defense.
Paul George sidestep the 3, good. Early on in the third, RJ stumbling, and George connect.
Now on the switch, George, step back 3 over Reeves. That's good. And the lead is 17 for the Clippers.
Clippers can lose some steam in the second half.
They better.
They better. First half teams in the NBA.
Nice save down there. It's George.
Games each of the last 2 seasons. Normally very reliable. There's a 3 from Paul George. Boy, the Clippers with Kawhi Leonard.
Paul George. Tough 3. George with a bounce to Westbrook. Pistons double him. George 3 for the 3, and it's through.
Point line to the other. But I have to think JJ is a former player. Almost everybody wanted to be part of Heat culture at one point as Paul George.
Paul George and Kawhi Leonard on the wing as defenders.
Both in the top 6.
Easy one for him, I suppose.
George for 3 again. Hits again. Back-to-back triples by Paul George. Harden really looking to shoot here in the fourth quarter, but he gave it up that time. George's 3 is good. And a timeout
From the 3-point line, nothing but net.
Where they're one of the best half-court offensive teams.
Now, Paul George drills another triple. That's his 5th. He's got 20.
As all together, Harden fires it out to Paul George. Kawhi kicks it out. Paul George back in and firing. And he hits another 3.
In the game in shot clocks. George pull up 3, buries it, and gets the Clippers within 1. Late in the clock. And knocks it down. George with 17.
Stretch here for the Pistons, who lead 52-43. George for 3. It's good. George now with the... George steps behind the 3-point line, knocks down the tray. 18 for George. That's a game. 5 minutes to play in a 5-point game. Paul George trying to add to the lead and does. Clippers by 10. 104 in the quarter. George catch and shoot 3. Book it. Big shot by George. 31. Clippers lead 107-9. George a transition 3. It's good. And for the first time tonight, the Clippers take a 1 against the Timberwolves, something that's been a problem for the Clippers of late. George, catch and shoot 3.
Paul George kept the pivot foot up. And George from the sideline. Oh, it no good. Paul George makes sure the feet are behind the 3-point line and cashes in the 3.
Kawhi, a pump fake. Paul George lines up the 3 and hits, and the Clippers go up 7. Paul George just 3 points on 1 of 5 shooting, but he can get hot in a hurry. Zubac's offensive rebound. Paul George for 3.
Gets his usual rest. George sets and hits. Just his second field goal. He was 1 for 6.
Leonard had the 10-point third quarter, and Paul George delivers a 3.
It sure would be nice if he could
Join us Sunday afternoon in Minnesota. Paul George curls, catches, and connects.
Talent, but unfortunately, that talent hasn't mixed itself together to win games. But that talent right there,
and the low man help, and that low man's getting burned.
Paul George with his first field goal. Started over. Fifth turnover for Minnesota. Paul George just gave the Clippers the lead.
That's not allowed him to get off in the game.
Combination. Paul George, he's been off for most of this game.
You know, to start this game, obviously got to get used to themselves here together, playing together. Paul George, and then he realized that, you know, don't forget about me. I'm actually the franchise leader as Paul George sinks the 3 points. 7 minutes left to play in the third quarter. Pocket pass from Harden, the kick out. Paul George off the 1 foot.
Make some different decisions, and it's on field. They're all gambles.
Paul George sinks the 3-pointer. 23 points. Now Paul George silences the crowd, but brief hits. Paul George. 113 to 106.
Swing it. Powell for George. Count it for 3.
A very talented, switchable 4 in this league. George starting to find his rhythm.
He's playing great basketball at the beginning of the season.
Having a career year and part of the prolific. Plumlee with the hard roll, rejected at the rim. Coffee to George, and he scores it.
Harden to Kawhi, fakes the 3, comes into the paint, no looks it off to George. He'll shoot the corner 3, and the Clippers have come over.
Go Martin for 3. And Zoo in a sea of red comes away with a loose ball. George, rhythm dribble for 3. It's good for in that second half on Wednesday. Leonard, 5 to shoot, finds an open Paul George for 3. It's good.
George working more collectively here on this end.
Paul George has been a one-man wrecking crew for L.
The basketball getting some good shots at the rim.
George fields it low and shoots it high and rips the cores. His third
star is rising quickly. Anderson guarding Paul George. George buries a step back. There's a lingering issue that they were addressing. There's Paul George who hits a 3-point.
Keying on DeMar. They're sending 2-3 guys at him, so these other guys have to step up. Who's going to have to step up?
Oh, wow.
Caruso on Powell. Cross court George. The 10 trying to get over, but George hits again. 10-point release.
Oh, you got to get that rebound.
He got the offensive board instead for LA. And George cashes in. Boy, George and Leonard red hot to start the night. They're a combined 11. Caruso got out on him, and it did not matter. This guy is just one of those nights for a good shooter. Back out for George. It's that time of night for Paul. Powell was able to recover. Wow, what a pass. Leonard all the way across the court, and it's been like Paul George.
Jose on Paul George. He's going to take the long one and get. Larry coming out to help. Step back, Paul George. Look good on him. Yeah. We were in the desert last game. Paul George.
Can't go under. Talented as Kyrie is, he's not the trash talker that Larry Bird is. That is for sure. George coming off the screen, curling, catching, and connecting, bringing the Clippers to within 1 night by Johnson. Then Johnson loses his footing. Harden finds an open George for 3. Book it. And the comeback begins. Clippers down 60.
Very good shooting for him. It's just a matter of volume and confidence. And speaking of volume and confidence, Paul George able to shake free.
Up about 2 minutes to get something going here. George for 3. There's something. It's a 10-3 for the Clippers.
Back into a zone look. It appears that is what they're doing here. PJ Tucker holding Ryan over there with a screen.
Up by 8 as they switch out. George leans back and he delivers a triple of his. PJ Tucker with it. Out on top to George. Measures the 3 accurately. Nothing but net. Will they go on to play? Here's George stepping outside. Flings a 3. Got it. It is. Oh.
Different offensive schemes. Defensively, he rebounds. He's a big reason, even as a rookie, why the Blazers have the best offensive rebound.
These 3 guys there. Yeah, man throws out of it here. That George gets off the shot in time, but 23.5 seconds. George a 3.
Yeah, we're looking at what happened as seamlessly as it does if we don't have the leadership in Joe Cronin and Dwayne Hankins.
They shoot today. They've been incredible. George for 3. Knocks it down. It's 54-41
on the ball. George for 3. It's
Let's go. Leonard. Bamba with the closeout. George knocks it down anyway.
Quicker to the open shooter, Hield.
Harden with 10 assists. Harden with 11 assists and 0 turnovers. George. For three over Siakam, and he knocks it down. Paul George against his former team has 11 with 7:29 to play. The league winning percentage is 90% when you shoot 55. That's growing.
After releasing of the ball, he thought he was fouled, so did the crowd. They have something else to boo now. George lines up the three, and that's good.
I think there are some moments where you feel like this Clippers team needs someone to hunt shots and to get them going. And Paul George, you have to put it into practice.
Paul George launches a three, and that's the first lead of the game.
To be in a ball game, and they continue to answer and extend runs.
Paul George finds some room and nails the three, comes right.
Don't get a call on one end. That's that toughness, that resilience. You got to go down. You still have to play on the other end, and Paul George has an answer.
Paul George in a hurry. Throws it ahead to George. Side step three. It's good, and we're tied at
10. We'll try it again. Harden finds George. Very patient, professional offense. Powell, Coffey to George. And now George and Miller are tied at a point shooting hand. But it actually is his dominant hand. Westbrook is a left-handed human. If you wanted an autograph for him from him, he'd sign with his left hand.
Paul George.
Paul George. He has figured it out. The second shot, a throwdown by Nick. Second dunk for Richards. Oh, my goodness. Paul George. He is already 19 points. Oh, my goodness. 22 for PG-13.
The hottest of a heat. That was in the paint, but still not a layup by any stretch.
Three-pointer Paul George. And then Brandon Miller for team high. JT Thor has come in for the Hornets. George, a little hesitation. He's passing along the perimeter. Open man is George. And that kind of night, he is an 8 for 12 trend here in April.
The difference is now is like obviously they've done a good job defensively again.
21 minutes Sunday against the Jazz. Here's Paul George, man. He has been on fire from three.
Just sees the game so well, just follows the flow of the game as Paul George. But that's one thing. Head injuries, they'll make you a little concerned, but apparently he's okay as George.
The Utah Jazz in the regular season. You see them trying to establish Zoo early tonight. Ryan is PG. They beat anyone in the league, and their defense is ramped back up, and it's here again tonight.
Feel good three. Will play in the first round. Right now it'd be Indiana as George locks the loads of three and rips the cords. Can the Clippers close with crescendo here in this? Okoro on him. George for three. Oh my goodness! By Allen, 2 to shoot. Going to be a tough one. A three.
Oh, it's good! Paul George knocks it down. He's got 27.
Norman Powell getting back to challenge. Transition three for George, and just like that, a 9-0 start.
And making him a facilitator.
George and Durant draped all over him. A tough contested step back.
And it has just compounded itself. And now it's at a point where anything they throw up is going in.
It's when James and Zubac get into it, and it's money, like that jump shot coming off of. And he gets back to Paul George.
It's like watching the final brushstrokes of the Mona Lisa.
See, Paul George at 1 and 2.
George has been busy in this second quarter. Oh, and he continues to be busy. George with George for three.
Got it! 18 for George. It's a three.
High with a three.
George. We are tied.
Which means he's touching the basketball every single time down the court.
Jokic already has 3 assists, and that's laced in. It's a three by Paul.
Defensive end. Now he's got his hands full against a red-hot PG.
Paul George money. It's halftime report. With the Hall of Fame foursome of E.J. Kenny, Chuck, and Shaq. 3, George, book it. Nice shot. Another good 2 minutes.
Always under control, right?
George, 27 for Paul. Young players on the floor for the defending champion Nuggets. Good steal, defense man will go the other way, cutting and angling in. 3, George, good! good. Another three and a 2-point deficit.
In late October. Man. It's around Jabari Smith Jr. into the corner for Paul George. The lose squad. Although, as I say that, Russell Westbrook, Norman Powell, and newly acquired Daniel Theis. George beat the buzzer. Paul George. 6. Powell drives and dishes to George for the catch and shoot. Trey, it is good. The 4th 3 for Paul George, averaging 10 a game.
Paul George opened 3, and that one finally drops.
Yeah, well, they have outstanding defenders, and you see how they turn. Our guys can just do a good job of playing an area. That was too easy. Victor tried to go underneath it.
George for 3.
Yeah, I mean, those guys.
His bench getting ready to come in. Paul George sees that, so he's going to make sure he gets 3 more.
Yeah, you brought every single day, and not once have we heard you feel like you're down on yourself. You feel that game. You feel our guys have to do a better job valuing the basketball.
George. Deep.
That looked good as soon as it left.
18-point game, his high game as a Spur this season. George jiggles 8-11 on the clock. Sohan trying to keep him in front, but he is red hot from the outside now as Paul George another
to injury. They're starting to get healthy as Paul George rises for the 3 and the band sings hallelujah. First long rebounds, Theis, right place, right time. Harden back the other way. A transition pull-up. That's actually a pass to Tucker. Hands to George for the corner 3. It's good. Clippers don't have numbers, but Paul George rises for the triple anyway. Oh, and he cashes in. 3rd. So much turnover against the Pelicans. By the way, the Clippers take the lead for the first time tonight. Can they feather the nest? George for 3. Indeed. 20 for George. A 25-point. 3-2 is our count. Paul George finds Terrence. Harden. What a pass. And George knocks down
of him, then he makes the assist to a teammate.
Oh, Paul George gets it right back.
Working against Barnes. Sprays it to the corner. One more to George for 3. And Paul George knocks down Westbrook on the sticks. Edwards guarding him. George for 3. It'll count. With .9.
Going up on the defensive end of the floor.
Paul George with the 3. Got it. PG.
Again, second night of it back-to-back. You do not have a lot in the tank.
Looked like they were going a little zone. It didn't matter.
Paul George, you do not want him to heat up. He's 1 of 9 and had this nice quiet game. It just hits the Brooks pick and roll now. Paul George, well defended, but there's Westbrook again. Paul George 3, and he got it off the Westbrook 22, Steph 22, Draymond 13, PG 13 hits a 3.
So they got the lead to 4. How about they cut it to 3 with the
snatch that basketball. No one was getting that one from him.
George for 3. Oh, it's 2 shots in a row for George. He has the. They did lead by 24 on Tuesday in Sacramento and lost the game. Clippers looking to battle back as George retaliates.
But the 3 years prior, he was a 39% three-point shooter, and now a man with rhythm, and his name
Harden's hands.
Man, George is open for the 3. It's good. Rebound Westbrook. The Clippers looking to push. The shot clock is dark. They're down by 2. George wants it all. The 3. Oh my goodness! Hot damn! Paul George pushed the Clippers out in front by 1.
And you have to be on a championship team. Rising for 3, Paul George, and that's the first 3. They turn it over. They had 8 threes in the first, none in the second. Harden behind the back to Leonard in the corner. Paul George, a good look, hits it, and the Clippers have their first out of the floor. Gordon batted down the pass. Shot clock at 2. George has to hoist it. He does, and he buries a 3. Big shot by. And the shot clock at 5. George straight away. 56 points 9 days ago to beat the Clippers here. 3 minutes gone by in the 4th. George again. 5 threes now for Paul.
Hasn't been able to hang around. Harden a deep one. No. Man, the offensive rebound. Here's George, a good look. Fontecchio hasn't had much of a chance against Leonard tonight. Off to George in the corner. He got
to 5. Paul George with a flyby. The 3 is good. First shot of the second quarter is a good one. Games in now over 200 minutes. He has been really good when he's on the floor for the Blazers. George hits a 3. A few weeks of the year with a sprained ankle, a 39% career three-point shooter. It will come back. It's never left Paul George. He gets his 5.
All right, team. Buckle up. That's what he does.
Paul George picked up by Murray. 9 to shoot for George. The 3 is true. I'll tell you what, bottle this up. Paul George getting his hands in. Power play if they hurry. George calls his own number. The 3 is good. A 5-0 strike. George, corner 3. Oh, it's good again. His second 3 of the quarter. He's got 16. And the Clippers re-rack the table. They give it to George for 3. George fires the 3. It's good. That might be the candles on the cake. 133-102.
Westbrook finds George. His 3 is good. Isaiah has 11. Brown has 9. Here's George for 3 again.
To get that loop jump shot.
TJ had 10 points and 6 assists Saturday night in Minneapolis. Here's a step back 3 again called. Harden. George has it guarded by Toppin. 2.5 to play in the quarter, and George again. Now Harden looking, finds George. He's been red hot from the top of the key, and it continues.
Defensive side. He likes the length for it. If the offense sputters, it doesn't sputter.
George from the outside, and that 3 is good for Paul George. Second of that type of move. George from the outside, just the third 3 in the spots and entry.
Finds a wide open Paul George for 3. It's good. George with 7.
Exact same spot that he made that last 3, but Zubac the offensive rebound. The kick out, open 3, Paul George. And all of a sudden the Clippers are really strong. Wonderful career. Very cool. And coming out of the timeout, it's a cool shot there from your pocket. It's a little extra hustle, but Paul George steps into that 3.
Game plan defensively, then you have to make adjustments.
Well, the Clippers do have a couple of equalizers, and Paul George shines his own.
To put the ball on the floor and create shots, and PG launches another 3. That makes sense.
He's got both 3s for.
Voices that these players are hearing, perhaps some new ideas or new ways of looking at it, and that's really changed.
Someone's back-to-backs. George again all alone in the corner. This time he gets it there and knocks it down. Trail by double figures. It's the second most games played while trailing by double figures in the league. George for 3. It's good. Harden double team finds George. Hot potato 3. Oh, it's good for George. Hayward gives chase, but after Paul George releases, that's his third 3 of the quarter. His George in the corner for 3. Bucket!
100 Clippers out. Goes into the ready hands of Amir Coffey.
Run the lanes, you'll be wide open.
George a pull-up 3. Oh, for the rhythmic 3. Got it. And Paul George coming to life in the third. 79-6. George for 3. It's good. And for the first time in a long time, the Clippers lead 59-5. George catch and shoot 3. Bucket for Paul George. 16 for George. Clippers in here, just the 2 of those 2 guys playing catch. George fires a 3. I'm okay with that one. 19 for George, his second consecutive.
Well, no team runs more isolation plays than the Clippers as Paul George. It's a significant loss as George connecting on his first 2 triples with a nice shooting. Pulling the classy veteran move, and ultimately the right veteran move is Paul George. Harden with that pocket pass. Zubac catch and shoot. Knocked down for Paul George. George gets a screen, gets a wide open look.
Yeah, that's the problem, is wide open. I mean, like, that's the hottest guy in the gym.
Hot starts have helped, haven't they? Leads early. Paul George on that. Man, the wrong guy to walk away from.
Well, the thing is, what B.I. had to do is he had to take away.
Harden, man, again, a wide open look.
So now you kind of want to keep Zion in that situation to see how he's shooting that ball, to see how.
Point game. Paul George, the hot hand, and it continues.
And the thing is, Herb Jones turned his head.
Paul George, he's got Larry this time.
And he also has the 2-for-1.
Yep.
Right on him. Cross court all the way to Paul George. Hesitated for a moment, and then he knocks it.
On the year for Christie, George tries to retaliate and does. Paul George knocks down his second three, 9 first quarter points.
Time.
This is the guy that Lakers better be concerned about, because in the half court, he makes things happen off the dribble.
Yeah, and he's percentage in the league since the beginning of December. Kawhi Leonard, Paul George. He knocks down and
they really revamped their roster from the team that went to the NBA Finals. George for three, it's good. Saw a lot of that last week. George goes to work on Booker, loses the handle, recovers. Oh, he put it in! What a shot! George, catch and shoot three. Yes, sir! 69-58, Clippers out in front of the... George given space for a moment. That's all. To get his first basket. Turns the corner, comes up firing. He's feeling good. 6 for George, and he cuts the... Again, back and forth we go. George for three. It's good. 7-3 for the Clippers. That's you're living a good life there. Here is George for three. It's good again. Paul George now with his second.
It's not just the physical, but the mental mistakes come in, and Paul George right there with a beautiful pullback.
Between picked up by Schroeder. It gives to George. Hesitates for a moment. Oh, it falls anyway. It's a third three. George, catch and shoot, corner three. Oh, it's all cotton. 24 for George. And the Clippers lead 111-1. Kawhi driven off the line. George beats the buzzer, the three. Oh, it's good.
Man, now George with 6 to shoot. George trying to create fadeaway three is in, and Paul
loses the ball, might have been deflected out of his hands. Here comes Westbrook. Deflection back into his hands. Open is George. The three is en route. It's good. 69-59. Clippers.
A very good offensive team with very good individual offensive players.
Paul George, 14 baskets. Skip pass. George. Step back three by Paul George is in.
For this Grizzlies team.
Paul George having a whale of a first half.
Problem was, partner, they only shot 41%.
Yes. The starry three-pointer. Rev, you had third.
In the next 10 minutes. George fires a 3, 2 for 1, knocks it down. Paul George with 21.
In an area for a score.
George. George.
Take a sizable lead here into the fourth. Game tomorrow night. George, step back three. I'll tell you what, it's back.
Outside look, Harden thinking about it. PGD corner. Hits his first shot of the ball game. Outside look, Paul George is good.
Powell for three, in and out. George with a rebound. He backs it back out, fires a three. Why not? 6 threes.
Leonard over to George. Good look at a three ball, and he answers. More ball movement. Harden finding Paul in the corner for three.
Harden, Minnesota scramble.